Hello, my name is Paul Bass. Welcome to New Haven, Connecticut. This is our spare guest bedroom of my home, where I publish the New Haven Independent, a daily or thrice daily hyperlocal news website that covers the city of New Haven. I've been a journalist in New Haven for more than 25 years, worked in a variety of media, mainstream, alternative, print, audio, and I've been publishing the Independent since September of 2005. We are published by a nonprofit that I formed with some people called the Online Journalism Project, a 501c3, whose mission is to promote the development of professional quality, interactive, consumer-aided or public-aided, citizen-aided journalism on the internet. When I came in to start the site, I was very excited by what blogs were doing, but I wasn't interested in blogging. Let me explain that. I thought that as everyone I knew in a mainstream newsroom was miserable and bored and felt they had a fight to do a fraction of their original mission as journalists, people doing online journalism or blogging were recapturing that spirit. They're excited about the possibilities. We didn't have a lot of money, but you can go cover a lot of local news again. So I want to harness that exciting spirit. And in New Haven, that everyone does go to the Independent for these exciting raucous debates, and it's considered, wow, that's outrageous, and they get mad at us as though there are comments. But in fact, I'm trying to put limits on it to have responsibility and civility. I felt like it should be fact-based. It should be source-based. You should go out and report on things rather than just comment in your room on something that's reported by a real journalist somewhere else. You know, what I'm doing today is recapturing the goals and the vision that led people like me into a career in journalism. I'm a reporter. I've been a reporter since I was a kid. When I was in high school, I was working at the daily Gannett paper and loved it. I went into journalism because I love covering news, in my case local news, city government, cops, neighborhoods, the trials and tribulations of everyday people, local heroes, what happens in a community. I think that's the raw material of democracy. And I think journalists play a key role in that, not in telling people what to think, but in helping them make sense of it and find out the raw information and have a civic square within which to debate it with their other citizens to find out stuff and talk together. I saw that disappear as a journalist, as of so many in this country. I went on to work at mainstream dailies, to freelance for national magazines and newspapers, to start my own community weekly, to work many years at an alternative weekly newspaper and investigative reporting. I've taught journalism. I did a daily radio show, talk radio, an AM. And I saw over the years that each place I worked, as they were bought up by out-of-town corporations, as they all were, they all started local, they all ended up national. People weren't being told, in my experience, what opinions to have or what they could say or write. There were just fewer people working each year. We have half the reporters we used to in New Haven covering events. They shut down competing media in some cases. Like most cities, we had 2 dailies still in the 80s. We now have one. The same company bought both and closed one down. Then when there's not the competition, they keep cutting the news staffs and cover less news. This is a lot different from what I expected, Bill. I originally thought that my site was going to be me. I wasn't going to do it unless I could make a living. You know, in my mid-40s, I have kids. I had to make a living, so I had to raise enough money to pay for me and a little more, you know, just for some incidental expenses. I felt that I wanted to see a city again where there were multiple news sources, so if I could go and cover a story or two a day, then link people to stories in other media and link people to press releases and identify them as press releases, you know, do that kind of combination, have this as a conversation, that would be fun. It turned out there was such a need in this and this other communities I see for just going to cover stuff. And there was enough interest in it. I was able to get enough money to have a staff, small staff, and get citizen contributions that we could cover breaking news every day and do very little linking to other sites, but still do some of it. So that's one thing that's different. The other thing that was different was how much work is involved in moderating the comments and trying to keep your standards without limiting the free flow of discussion. So the intensity and breadth of the debate was a pleasant surprise. The way people felt ownership of the site was a surprise. And the demands, the traditional journalistic demands, are much higher than I thought they were going to be. What I found is we just need more people covering this. The barrier entries are lower, so I could start this site without paying for an office, without paying for phone systems, just a couple of cell phones, just a laptop or two, and it all goes into reporting. And you can just publish it instantly, right? I had a web guy design a really good site, showed me how to use it in 5 minutes, and I'm not a techie savvy guy, so if I could do it, anyone could do it. Go to public meetings, find out, get on press release lists, call the police about crimes, go to the boards and commissions, not always even your city councils, those committees or the zoning board where the great decisions are made and the public shows up. Go around neighborhoods and anything is news, expand your definition. I have this little camera that I have in my pocket and it has video on it. It's not high quality, the web is very forgiving quality on visuals. Just show up places. Don't have an office, don't get high overhead, and just put lots of information on your site and just let it roll. So this is a Nikon Coolpix 4. What I love about it is I put it in my pocket and it takes video. And you don't distract people with these big cameras and lights that make them feel like they're on TV. I feel like we've revolutionized how journalism is done here, we and other sites like ours, and that New Haven will be better off for it, and that there will be sites like ours, multiple sites in every city. Some will be one-person shops, some will be four-person shops, some will be more video-driven, some more text, some more political, some more non-ideological. But I don't think any one of us will necessarily, in most cases, survive for more than a few years. It will come and go, which isn't necessarily bad. The mainstream media will evolve, become more like us. And meanwhile, there will still be these grassroots entrants that didn't used to exist, that don't have that long-term stability, but will have energy, insight, new ways of covering that will prompt the mainstream to do better, and on its own will be civic commons that revitalize cities. I think communities matter. I think civic engagement matters. I think as our community, the big challenges with technology, whether it's the internet or entertainment coming to home systems, or people no longer going out in public much because you watch everything on cable for politics, is that we have the promise of greater democracy. We have the technological tools to communicate with each other and participate to make, and it does matter how our society, whether we try to make it better or not, work together to do that, and whether there's more democracy. It matters in terms of if we have good schools for our children, whether our cities are safe to live in, whether we have jobs for people over the long term, whether it matters to people's lives. If you think people's lives matter, then community matters, and the ability to connect to each other and to find out information that affects your life, that all matters if you believe in those values. So I believe that we have to think of journalism as operating on many models, including the nonprofit model, and that can be sustainable in a larger sense. And I think almost anybody can do it. Can you make a living at it? A lot of us can make a living at it, at least for a while. Just the fact that we're there and we care, and we're just writing about what's happening in a community with a fresh set of eyes, either writing about it differently from mainstream media or half the time covering stuff they don't cover, and that people are part of that conversation, that to me is what's exciting about it and powerful.